Hey everyone, welcome back. On Monday, January 27th, patch 8 was accidentally pushed out to some PS5 players, and because of that, we have some leaks giving us a sneak peek at the 12 subclasses coming soon. Let's take a look at some of those leaks, class by class, to glean what we have to look forward to when patch 8 launches. First up is the Oath of the Crown Paladin. There's even a BG3 wiki page already built on this. So what is the Oath of the Crown? It is law. Uphold civilization and order, loyalty. Your word is your bond. Without loyalty, oaths and laws are meaningless, and responsibility. Deal with the consequences of your actions and fulfill your duties and obligations. So basically, if you're going to help someone, actually follow through with it so that you don't end up breaking your oath. Let's take a look at some of these channel oath abilities. So we have Righteous Clarity. This is a channel oath action available to Oath of the Crown Paladins, which grants the paladin or an ally a bonus to attack rolls equal to their proficiency bonus. Now I'm curious how long this will last. Will it last just a single attack or maybe 10 turns? Seems pretty good. If it uses a channel oath charge, it's usually pretty powerful, and you get this at level 1. At level 3, we get the Champion Challenge. This is a channel oath action available to the Oath of the Crown Paladins, which penalizes the challenge target with disadvantage on attacks when attacking anyone but the paladin. So you're going to challenge the enemies around you, compelling them to attack only you, and any attacks they make against other targets have disadvantage. So this is similar to Compelled to Duel, but that is single target. This is going to be an area of effect, or AoE shout, which seems better to me. It requires a channel oath charge. Pretty good though. And then finally we have Turn the Tide. Shout out and heal all nearby non-enemy creatures. The amount I'm curious of could be very powerful, again using a channel oath charge. And there is a way to get more than your typical channel oath charges by getting the Armor of Devotion. This is a full plate heavy armor, allows you to cast Eternal Devotion, which allows you to recite your oath to regain 1 channel oath charge. You can get this from Roa Moonglow on the main floor of Moonrise Towers. Probably going to want to pick this up if you want to use your channel oath charges more frequently as a Oath of the Crown Paladin. All right, so oath spells. You get these two at level 3. They're always prepared. You don't have to prepare them. You get Command, which is very powerful. You know, Command Flee, Command Approach, Command Prone, all sorts of things. Command Grovel. It's very, very good to crowd control. And then, of course, you actually do get Compelled to Duel. We were actually just talking about this. They have to force an enemy to attack you, getting disadvantage against other targets. Compelled to Duel being kind of similar to Champion Challenge, but this is single target and it requires concentration. So you get those. And then at level 5, you gain 2 additional spells from your oath that are always prepared, which is Warding Bond, which is typically a cleric only spell. If we look at this, Warding Bond, generally you're going to get it at a level 3 as a level 3 cleric. You can also get it from Viconia's Walking Fortress, but that's on long rest cooldown. And you can also have Warding Bond from True Love's Embrace and True Love's Caress. You can find those in Act 2, and both the target and the caster have to actually be wearing the matching rings, so a bit of work to get there. Warding Bond is really great. The way that I'm seeing this shape up, Oath of the Crown is a tanky paladin. You're going to probably want to have a lot of health, a lot of constitution, probably armor class if you're going to use Champion Challenge. And then you also get Spiritual Weapon. So Spiritual Weapon is also typically a cleric spell, College of Lore, a bard. You can also get it from Sethin and the Harper Sacred Striker, but Spiritual Weapon is very good. You can also choose the right spiritual weapon. I think it's the Great Axe, Great Sword, or Halberd, and those will all give you the ability to cause bleeding. And then if you cause bleeding, you can get advantage for your whole party if you have Bual's Benediction. So both Warding Bond and Spiritual Weapon, typically, you know, cleric spells, not typically on a paladin. As an Oath of the Crown Paladin, you do get those too. Then at level 7, you get Divine Allegiance. When an ally within 5 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to magically substitute your own health for your allies taking the damage instead of them. That is incredible. Divine Allegiance is probably the most powerful class action we've looked at so far. Using your reaction, if that's the only resource that it requires, you could use your reaction all the time to just take, you know, all the damage of your team, assuming you only take your teammate only takes damage once per turn. But this is really amazing, redirecting that damage to you. Very, very nice. 5 feet is pretty much melee range though, so maybe this is going to be more protective towards a weaker melee range party member. And then finally at level 9, we get 2 more oath spells that are always prepared. We have Spirit Guardians, which again, this is actually typically a cleric spell. Cleric, College of Lore, via Magical Secrets, Bard. Very, very cool. Spiritual Guardians is quite powerful, especially if you're a melee character. So very cool. And then Crusader's Mantle. This actually has been available through, I think other Paladins get it in items, War Domain Cleric as well, and the Bard. And you can even get it from the Mantle of the Holy Warrior. So that's not too insane, but very, very cool so far. And here's some screenshots of in-game. We see the Divine Allegiance, which is very cool. You get that level 7. Champion Challenge requires a bonus action and a Channel Oath charge. 9-meter range we can see. And then we also see one thing new here, perhaps Warden of Vitality. Let's take a look at Warden of Vitality. So Warden of Vitality is actually any Paladin, but you can use Restore Vitality to heal itself or nearby allies. So very cool. You're also going to have this. It's going to be 2d6 health points as a bonus action once per turn, I guess, right? Bonus action. It lasts for 10 turns. So pretty decent healing, actually. And you're going to get that at level 9, it looks like. Warden of Vitality. So Oath of the Crown Paladin looking very, very cool. Can't wait to give this one a try. And next up is the Shadow Magic Sorcerer. As a Shadow Magic Sorcerer, you deal in a form of magic that makes you deadliest in darkness. This subclass gives its sorcerer superior darkvision, as well as the ability to shadow walk between places of dim light or darkness. It also lets you call forth the perfectly homebrewed Hound of Ill Omen to harass your foes, and use Strength of the Grave to prevent you from being downed, which is ideal for honor mode. So Strength of the Grave is unlocked at level 1, and after reaching 0 hit points, you regain 1 instead of becoming downed. So that again is perfect for honor mode runs. And then Darkness, which essentially creates a area which blinds targets that are within it, is unlocked at level 3 and is called Eyes of the Darkness, costing 2 sorcery points and an action. And then at level 6, Shadow Magic Sorcerers unlock Hound of Ill Omen, costing 3 sorcery points and a bonus action, and the Hound's basic attack has a chance to inflict Hound's Omen. If the affected entity is dealt 1 acid damage, the owner of the Hound will regain 1 sorcery point. So this is a way for the Shadow Magic Sorcerer to get sorcery points back. The damage type required, we said acid, but it actually seems to change between cold and acid. Users have only seen those 2 damage types so far. Based on which omen the Hound puts on the target, if the sorcerer is able to follow up and deal that damage, whether it's acid or cold, then they're going to be getting sorcery points back each turn. Community Update 30 mentions Shadow Sorcerer getting Shadow Walk, the 14th level D&D feature, which is twice the distance as Monk's Shadow Step, but without advantage on melee attack. So we know that the Shadow Sorcerer actually unlocks this at level 11, and it reads, Teleport into the shadows. The next spell you cast that turn will benefit from Distant Spell without costing any sorcery points. Distant Spell increases the range of your next spell. So looking very awesome. The Shadow Magic Sorcerer is basically going to help you maybe not even have to dip into Warlock if you really like that Superior Darkvision. Strength of the Grave is very good to keep yourself alive. And of course, Darkness and Superior Darkvision together, Way of the Shadow Monk, plus perhaps a Warlock, plus this, you could just create like an entire Darkness gang, so to speak. Now, thanks to the Shadow Magic Sorcerer. Very cool looking subclass coming in patch 8. And next up is the Bladesinging Wizard. Here's what we know so far. So at level 2, you gain a class action called Blade Song. Invoke the Blade Song. You gain a +3 bonus to armor class, and your movement speed increases by 3 meters. You also gain advantage in acrobatics and +3 to constitution saving throws. That'll help with concentration. You also unlock Blade Song Climax and the ability to accumulate Blade Song charges in combat. Blade Song lasts for 10 turns, and you also can't wear medium or heavy armor or shields while blade singing, and you must be wielding a dagger, longsword, rapier, scimitar, short sword, or sickle. And it looks like this requires Blade Song power as well, which is probably the resource that comes with this class. At level 2, you also gain training in War and Song. This grants you proficiency with light armor and the performance skill. You also gain proficiency with daggers, sickles, short swords, rapiers, scimitars, and longsword. At level 6, you gain extra attack. You can make an extra additional free attack after making an unarmed or weapon attack. So this is awesome. Many classes get extra attack, so very nice that Bladesinging also gets this. And then finally at level 10, we know that the Bladesinging Wizard will get Song of Defense. When you take damage during your Blade Song, you can expend a spell slot to subtract 5 damage per spell slot. So if you do a 6th level spell slot, that will be 30 damage you can subtract from damage you would take during your Blade Song. Very, very cool. This is certainly going to make the Bladesinging Wizard rather tanky if you want to save your spell slots for Song of Defense. Very cool that this is a sort of melee attacking wizard. I can't wait to see what other abilities it has. Probably going to be a great class to multi-class with other things, perhaps with Paladin or Fighter or things like that. And next up is the Warlock Hexblade. You have made a pact with a mysterious entity from the Shadowfell, a force that manifests in sentient magic weapons carved from the stuff of shadow. So at level 1, you acquire the following. You will gain martial weapons proficiency, medium armor proficiency, and shields proficiency. You'll also gain your bind hexed weapon, Hexblade's Curse, and shield along with Wrathful Smite. So what does Hexblade's Curse do? It curses a target. Your damage rolls against the target gain a bonus equal to their proficiency bonus. The number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking the target is also reduced by 1. That's awesome. If the target dies, you regain 4 hit points and it recharges on short rest. So that is very cool. I'm curious if Hexblade's Curse is similar to Hex in that you can recast it. Maybe not. I don't know. And then bind hexed weapon. Bind to your main hand weapon. Its damage becomes magical. You cannot drop or throw it, and you become proficient with it if you weren't already. When you attack with this weapon, there is a chance that Hexblade's Curse will be applied to the target. That is awesome. This is really, really cool for a number of reasons. So bind hexed weapon, that's going to basically be a trader trick most likely. So if you play as a Hexblade, you can probably get everything from traders for free. Also, being able to put Hexblade's Curse on every single target is going to, I wonder if your whole party benefits from Hexblade's Curse. So everyone's critical hit is going to be reduced by 1. Even if not, your own is going to be reduced. And then anytime that target dies, you gain 4 hit points, which is amazing, especially if you're fighting multiple targets. You could be gaining a lot of health back throughout your fights. Perhaps you're going to actually try to also decrease the number you need to roll for a critical hit further with Hexblade type builds. So at level 1, you also get shield. We all know what that does. Makes you immune to magic missiles as a reaction. Also increases your AC, which is very cool. And then Wrathful Smite, really cool. Wrathful Smite, typically this has only been a Paladin spell, but it also is granted by Voss's Silver Sword. This does normal weapon damage plus 1d6 psychic damage, which is very cool. And then your weapon absorbs your wrath as you strike, possibly frightening your target, which is very nice. If a target that is frightened, they cannot move and they have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. Very nice. Okay, at level 3, the Hexblade gains Blur, which requires concentration, and Branding Smite. This is cool. The Hexblade sounds almost like a Death Knight or like a Dark Paladin. So Blur is a level 2 illusion spell. This spell blurs the spellcaster's body and makes them harder to hit. Attackers have disadvantage on attack rolls against you. Very nice, and it does require concentration and lasts 10 turns. And then Branding Smite is very nice. I love using this against Yrgir in the Gauntlet of Shar because he likes to go invisible. So Branding Smite says your weapon gleams with astral radiance as you strike and possibly mark your targets with light, preventing it from turning invisible. This spell, unlike other smite spells, will work with ranged weaponry. Well, that's very cool. This does normal weapon damage plus 2d6 radiant damage, typically only available to Paladins at level 5, or Zariel Tieflings can use it once per long rest at level 5. So very cool. The Hexblade unlocks that at level 3, and then finally at level 5, Hexblade Warlocks gain extra attack. You can make an extra additional free attack after making an unarmed or weapon attack. They also unlock Blink and Elemental Weapon. That's going to allow you to augment your weapon with an element of your choice, whether that's acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder, and it will require concentration. Typically, this would be unlocked by a Paladin at level 9, so this is very nice. I love Elemental Weapon. So you get this at level 5. You also get Blink. Blink, admittedly, I've almost never used Blink. It's a level 3 transmutation spell and allows you to travel to the ethereal plane, becoming temporarily unassailable and unseen until you return. I've never really used this ability. And then finally, at level 6, we get the Accursed Spectre spell. When you or an ally within 18 meters slay a creature that is afflicted with Hexblade Hexblade's Curse, which you can put on a target just by attacking them with a melee strike, you can raise an accursed specter that will fight alongside you for a short period of time. Very, very awesome. We don't have any images so far yet, or I haven't found any of what the accursed specter looks like. I imagine it probably looks like something you would find in the Shadowfell. Very, very cool. This sounds like a very, very fun subclass. You're probably creating a lot of accursed specters, especially if you have a weapon that gives you the weapon action cleave, or perhaps Jorgarol's Greatsword, which allows you to attack all enemies in a cone. Imagine the Hexblade with Jorgarol's Greatsword striking all enemies in a cone, all of them getting afflicted by Hexblade's Curse, and summoning a swarm of 5 to 10 accursed specters in a single action. That's going to look so, so cool. So very, very excited about the Hexblade. At level 7, you're going to acquire Dominate Beast, which requires concentration. Dominate Beast is a level 4 enchantment spell. This spell allows spellcasters to temporarily charm a beast into fighting alongside the caster rather than against them. This requires a level 4 spell slot. Very, very cool. Typically, this is something that you'd only find on a Druid or Nature Domain, or even the Great Old One, but also Bard via Magical Secrets. Very, very cool spell. And then also Phantasmal Killer. I think this is actually a terrible spell. I've never really used it. It's a level 4 illusion spell. It allows spellcasters to temporarily haunt creatures' mind with illusions, dealing damage, prevents movement, and has disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, similar to Frightened. 4d10 psychic damage per turn. Never really used it. I don't know if it's very good. Then finally at level 9, you get some 5th level spells: Banishing Smite and Cone of Cold. Banishing Smite, requiring concentration, possibly banish your target to another plane of existence. Targets with 50 hit points or more can't be banished, so keep that in mind. That is kind of a drawback. This does normal weapon damage plus 5d10 force damage. This could be very good against a Steel Watcher that's close to death. You want to banish them so that they don't explode on your party, dealing massive damage. Yeah, typically this is only learned by bards at level 10 via Magical Secrets. This is a level 5 evocation spell. It allows spellcasters to blast icy air into a region in front of them, damaging affected creatures and turning existing water surfaces into ice surfaces. This deals 8d8 cold damage. However, on a Constitution save, the target will take half damage, but quite a lot of damage is possible with this, so very cool. Then finally, at level 10, we get Armor of Hexes. When a creature you cursed with Hexblade's Curse attacks you, potentially nullify the attack as a reaction. This has a 50% chance of succeeding. Unbelievable. You have a 50% chance to completely nullify the attack, which means, you know, it could have done who knows how much damage, and literally that means every single attack that a hex, a cursed target makes on you, you have a 50% chance to just not take any damage at all. So Armor of Hexes, very powerful. Imagine how much damage mitigation you can get from that, especially if you're cursing all of your opponents so they all get affected by that. So very cool. Hexblade Warlock is certainly one of the subclasses I am most excited about. And next up is the Death Domain Cleric. The Death Domain is concerned with the forces that cause death, as well as the negative energy that gives rise to undead creatures. Deities such as Chemosh, Merkle, Ouijas are patrons of necromancers, death knights, liches, mummy lords, and vampires. Gods of the Death Domain also embody murder, pain, disease, poison, and the underworld. So the Death Domain Cleric, very excited about this particular subclass. At level 1, you will gain Martial Weapons Proficiency and Reaper. Reaper causes your necromancy cantrips that only target one creature to target an additional creature. You also gain additional spells from your domain, which are always prepared. You will gain Toll the Dead. This is a necromancy cantrip that is new to patch 8. Toll the Dead deals necrotic damage and increases in damage if the target has already been damaged. So this is great to follow up if one of your other teammates or party members have already done damage to a target. Toll the Dead will be very nice to perhaps use Reaper with to target 2 creatures instead of 1, since Toll the Dead is in fact a cantrip. False Life is actually a necromancy spell, not a cantrip, giving you temporary hit points. This was already in the game. And then there is Ray of Sickness, which is a level 1 necromancy spell. Could potentially poison them and does poison damage as well. Very, very nice. All right, at level 2, you get Channel Divinity Touch of Death. When you hit a creature with a melee attack, you can use your Channel Divinity to deal extra necrotic damage. How much extra necrotic damage? We don't actually know. But if we look at D&D 5th edition, extra bonus damage, it says here the damage equals 5 plus twice your cleric level. Will it actually be that much? I could see it being the case, considering it requires you to use Channel Divinity, which is a limited resource. All right, at level 3, you gain some more domain spells. They're always prepared. You gain Blindness, which is a spell that requires concentration, and Ray of Enfeeblement. Both these spells were already in the game. At level 5, more domain spells, Animate Dead and Vampiric Touch. Animate Dead, very fun, summoning the dead, but also Vampiric Touch is a level 3 necromancy spell. This allows the spellcasters at melee range to siphon the life force of their target, regain as many hit points. For 10 turns, you can use Vampiric Touch again without expending an additional spell slot. So this does 3d6 necrotic, and then you're going to actually get that health back, and you can just cast that over and over, which is very, very cool. All right. At level 6, the Death Domain Cleric unlocks Inescapable Destruction. Spells you cast ignore resistance to necrotic damage. That is awesome, considering many of these spells use or deal necrotic damage. This is excellent, allowing you to bypass resistance to necrotic. At level 7, you gain more spells from your domain. Blight and Death Ward. Death Ward is great, and so is Blight. Blight actually is a level 4 necromancy spell. It allows you to drain the moisture and vitality from a target creature using necromantic energy, dealing bonus damage versus plants. Does 8d8 necrotic damage, which is very strong. Plants take maximum damage from this spell, so they will always take 64, and then they have disadvantage on the saving throw against it. So they could theoretically still pass the saving throw and take half damage, but they have disadvantage on that. There's not many plants in this game that you fight other than the myconids that come to mind, and you certainly will most definitely not be level 7 and still in the Underdark. And then at level 8 is Divine Strike Necrotic. Once per turn, deal 1d8 necrotic in addition to your weapon's damage when you make a weapon attack. Very cool. So this looks like it just costs an action. So it looks like you could probably just use Divine Strike Necrotic over and over. I don't see it using a spell slot. I don't see it using a Channel Divinity, certainly not. So it looks like this is just a weapon action you can constantly use, which is awesome. That bonus necrotic damage is very cool because at level 6, that Inescapable Destruction means that you will ignore that resistance to necrotic and always deal that 1d8. Then finally at level 9, you gain additional spells from your domain, which are always prepared, including Cloud Kill and Contagion. Cloud Kill is quite nice AoE damage, and Contagion admittedly is a spell I don't use very often. Level 5 necromancy spell. Looks like a number of options there for Contagion. And that is the Death Domain Cleric. And next up is the Swarmkeeper Ranger. This subclass obtains all the features from its base class Ranger in addition to its unique features outlined below. So, Swarmkeeper, you have forged a deep connection with your natural surroundings and formed a magical bond with a swarm of nature spirits. This swarm serves as a helpful companion and a potent force in battle. You acquire the following: Praise Scent. Your swarm deals additional damage to creatures marked by your Hunter's Mark. Very, very cool. You also get Mage Hand, which is a cantrip, and Fairy Fire, which is a spell. Awesome. So that's just at level 1, and then it looks like at level 3, you get to finally choose the swarm of nature spirits you've formed a bond with. You can change your swarm whenever you level up. So first up, we have the Legion of Bees. You gain a swarm of bees that fights on your side. Once per round, the swarm can assist you in one of 3 ways after you attack an enemy. It can attack and deal additional piercing damage, push the enemy away from you, or teleport you to a safer location. Then there's the Cloud of Jellyfish. You gain a swarm of jellyfish that fights on your side. Once per round, the swarm can assist you in one of 3 ways after you attack an enemy. It can attack and deal additional lightning damage, shock your enemy, or teleport you to a safer location. And then finally, there is Flurry of Moths. You gain a swarm of moths that fight on your side. Once per round, the swarm can assist you in one of 3 ways after you attack an enemy. It can attack and deal an additional psychic damage, blind your enemy, or teleport you to a safer location. So all of them can help you teleport, and which is very nice considering if you're a ranger, you're likely making ranged attacks, but a nice couple different things. To me, it sounds like the moths are pretty nice. Blind is excellent, so kind of like that quite a bit. At level 7, you will unlock Writhing Tide. You can condense part of your swarm into a focused mass that lifts you up, granting you a flying speed of 3 meters or 10 feet and protecting you from surface effects. That's pretty cool. Kind of allows you to kind of fly around, which is very, very nice. And that is what we know so far about the Swarmkeeper Ranger. Sounds pretty cool. I am definitely excited to try out some of these different legions that can kind of, I want to see what it looks like. Like, I would love to send a swarm of jellyfish at someone. That sounds awesome. So that is the Swarmkeeper Ranger so far. And next up is the Swashbuckler Rogue. You live and breathe the art of the blade, excelling in single combat thanks to your quick feet and wits. At level 1, you acquire the following. Number 1 is Fancy Footwork. If you make a melee attack against a target, that target can't make opportunity attacks against you for the rest of your turn. Very, very cool. So essentially, you can hit them and run if you wanted to without having to use something like disengage. Very, very nice. You also get Rakish Audacity. You gain a +1 bonus to initiative rolls. This scales with your rogue level. You no longer need advantage to trigger sneak attack as long as you're within 5 feet of the target and don't have disadvantage. That's really cool. Sneak attack was buffed in patch 7. Sneak attack is awesome, making you deal bonus damage. Very, very nice. At level 4, the Swashbuckler Rogue acquires Flick o' the Wrist. Flick your weapon at a target and possibly disarm them and then gain advantage on your next attack. That is really, really cool because this only requires a bonus action. So essentially you're going to be able to use this every turn. So you can be disarming your targets quite frequently and having advantage on your attack, even though you don't need advantage on your attack to trigger sneak attack, which is very cool. You also get Dirty Trick Sand Toss. Toss a handful of sand at your enemy and possibly blind them, then gain advantage on your next attack. Awesome, also requiring just a bonus action. Then finally, there's Dirty Trick Vicious Mockery. Insult a creature. It has disadvantage on its next attack roll. Gain advantage on your next attack. Very cool. 3 dirty tricks unlocked at level 4. Very, very nice. And then finally, at level 9, we get Panache or Panak. It's a class action. Roll a persuasion check to beguile a humanoid who must contest it with an insight check. Enemies who fail gain Panache disadvantage. Others who fail become charmed. If you get Panache disadvantage, you have disadvantage on attack rolls against all enemies except the caster of Panache. You are also unable to make opportunity attacks against enemies other than the caster. And then charmed, you can't attack the spellcaster. Very, very nice. So Panache is pretty cool, pretty nice. Don't know if I'm saying that right. And you get that at level 9 and it costs an action. Seems pretty nice. A nice way to kind of potentially reduce a threat on the battlefield. You also get Uncanny Dodge at level 5. Uncanny Dodge is very nice. Use your lightning quick reflexes to protect yourself. When an attack hits you, you only take half the usual damage. Very nice. And then at level 7, you'll also get Evasion. Your agility lets you dodge out of the way of certain spells. When a spell or effect would deal half damage on a successful dexterity saving throw, it deals no damage if you succeed and only half damage if you fail. I love Evasion. Evasion is amazing. Basically makes it so you don't take damage from Fireball if you succeed a saving throw because you have so much dexterity as a rogue. So that is the Swashbuckler Rogue so far, what we know. And next up is the Way of the Drunken Master Monk with the unpredictable lurches of a tippler. A tippler is one who is a habitual drinker of alcohol. You hiccup your way through battle, frustrating foes with carefully executed movements concealed beneath a facade of incompetence. Very, very cool. Love it. This is one of the coolest subclass flavors out there. So by becoming a Way of the Drunken Master Monk, you gain Drunken Performance, you gain proficiency in Performance, you also get Drunken Technique and Cheeky Tipple. Cheeky Tipple makes it so that you are immune to the negative effects of being drunk once per day. When you drink alcohol, you regain half your key points rounded down. So that is already very, very cool. So if you drink alcohol, you get drunk, which gives you disadvantage on dexterity and charisma checks. So by being a cheeky tipple, you are just permanently immune to the negative effects of being drunk. And then if you drink, that's actually going to restore your key points, which is awesome. However, that's only once per day, but still very, very nice. That is how you get your key points back. I have to mention Amulet of the Drunkard before we go any further. So this is a rare amulet that causes the wearer to regain 2d4 hit points once during the first turn of drunk. That happened with this item equipped. It also increases the duration of drunk to 5 turns, right? So that is sort of the drawback. You get healed, but the drunkenness lasts longer. On a Way of the Drunken Master Monk, by wearing the Amulet of the Drunkard, you are essentially immune to the drawback and you only get the benefit, the 2d4 hit points. If you look at Boo's Remedy, which is the passive feature that you get from wearing the Amulet of the Drunkard, it says, while wearing this amulet, regain 2d4 hit points per turn while drunk, along with that increased duration. However, it is a bug. It only works once. Larian, please fix this for patch 8. I want to wear this and constantly be drinking as a Way of the Drunken Master Monk. That would just be incredible. Okay, so with all that said, let's continue on. So what else do you get? You get Drunken Technique. So Drunken Technique, punch twice in quick succession and grant yourself an additional 10 feet of movement and the benefits of disengage. So you're kind of like gonna run up to someone, punch them twice, pa pa pa, and then kind of move away from them because you have the benefits of disengage, which means you do not provoke opportunity attacks, which is great. So Drunken Technique requires 1 key point and a bonus action. This is actually great. It's kind of like Flurry of Blows on the Way of the Open Hand Monk. So already I'm seeing Way of the Drunken Master being quite powerful, especially if you're unarmed. You could play a Karlach Way of the Drunken Master with that soul coin for that bonus fire damage. At level 4, you will gain Intoxicating Strike, hit a creature with your bare fists and possibly get them drunk, which of course, as we talked about, drunk gives disadvantage on dexterity and charisma checks. Very, very nice. Disadvantage on dexterity checks is very nice. Okay, at level 5, you gain extra attack. You can make an additional free attack after making an unarmed or weapon attack. Very nice. At level 6, we acquire Leap to Your Feet. This website, D&D 5th edition, says leap to your feet when you're prone. You can stand up by spending 5 feet of movement rather than half your speed. I'm assuming we'll probably get something similar. So you're able to be more resistant to the effects of prone, taking out less of your movement speed. That is likely what Leap to Your Feet does, because that's what it does in 5e. Redirect attack is also gained at level 6. When a creature misses you with a melee attack, you can spend 1 key point as a reaction to make them attack a new target if possible. That's interesting. So if they miss you with a melee attack, to me that seems like you're off the hook, but why would you want them to attack a new target? The only thing I could think of is if you could choose one of their allies or one of an additional enemy, right? So they miss you and then you're like, oh, you accidentally hit your friend. That would make total sense, right? Like you duck out of the way and then they end up punching their buddy. That would be really cool. I think that's what redirect attack is probably going to be used for. Would love to see it. At level 7, you unlock Life of the Party. Every time Intoxicating Strike hits, the monk gains Life of the Party, which increases armor class and attack rolls against drunk targets. This effect can stack. Very, very cool. Life of the Party is nice because if a target you hit that you made drunk tries to attack you, you're going to have increased armor class, and your attack rolls against those drunk targets are going to gain a bonus, which is nice. And level 9, we get Sobering Realization. Hit a drunk target and sober them up by dealing bonus psychic damage. On a successful hit, the monk also loses Life of the Party. So you kind of gain that bonus armor class and bonus to your attack rolls by kind of using that to gain that bonus psychic damage, which is kind of a cool combo move. And that's what we know so far for the Way of the Drunken Master Monk. Certainly a very, very cool subclass that I very much look forward to playing. All right, next up is the Arcane Archer Fighter. Very, very cool to see a ranged-based fighter subclass. So it says here, the Arcane Archer studies a unique elven method of archery that weaves magic into attacks to produce supernatural effects. Arcane Archers are some of their most elite warriors among the elves. They stand stand watch over the fringes of elven domains, keeping a keen eye out for trespassers and using magic-infused arrows to defeat monsters and invaders before they can reach elven settlements. Over the centuries, the methods of these elf archers have been learned by members of the other races who can also balance arcane aptitude with archery. Very, very cool. So the arcane archer is a subclass of the fighter, and it gets some very cool abilities. So at level 3, we get arcane arrows. We get 3 of them. This is a resource used to fire an arcane shot, and it is replenished by short or long rest. So you get to choose 3 arcane shot types to learn. There's bursting arrow. Use evocation magic to make your arrow explode on impact and deal an additional 2d6 force damage to targets within 10 feet. There's enfeebling arrow. Use necrotic magic to deal an additional 2d6 necrotic damage. The target must succeed a saving throw or become feeble. There's beguiling arrow. Use enchantment magic to deal an additional 2d6 psychic damage. Target must succeed a saving throw or become charmed. Banishing arrow. Use abjuration magic to potentially banish your target to the Feywild. That can be very useful. Seeking arrow. Use divination magic to make your arrow seek a target. The arrow deals an additional 1d6 force damage and possibly applies fairy fire. And then there's shadow arrow. Use enchantment magic to deal an additional 2d6 psychic damage, and the target must succeed a saving throw or become blinded. And then grasping arrow. Deal an additional 2d6 poison damage. Affected entity's movement speed is reduced by 3, and it will take 2d6 slashing damage when it moves. Very, very cool. And then last, we have piercing arrow. Use transmutation magic to attack all those within the line of your shot. Each target must succeed a saving throw or be dealt an additional 1d6 piercing damage. Very cool. So if you can line up targets, or if there's a swarm of rats maybe charging at you, piercing arrow seems like the right choice. Very, very cool options. Lots of options. You can choose 3 of them, 3 of those options. And then at level 6, the arcane archer gains additional charges for a total of 6. You regain expanded charges after a short rest. So I guess you get 3 additional charges you regain after a short rest or a long rest. Very, very cool. I almost feel like the arcane archer should be renamed the Titan String Bow Archer. I'm just kidding, even though that bow is incredible. So very cool. The arcane archer is probably going to be a lot of fun. I'm interested to see the different builds that are used with this. Fighter typically is just a really great multi-class, so I'm feeling like perhaps there is an assassin ranger arcane archer build in the future with the Titan String Bow. Probably something very, very cool to explore in the future, but this one looks pretty sweet. And next up, we have the Circle of the Stars Druid, one of the most exciting subclasses that is coming in patch 8. The Circle of the Stars Druid is guided by the infinite mysteries of the cosmos. It is through their understanding of the stars that their druidic magic gains its potency. Very, very cool. So at level 2, the Circle of the Stars Druid gains Starry Form. You can expend a wild shape charge to take on a starry form rather than transforming into a beast. So there are a number of different Starry Form options. There is Starry Form Archer. A constellation of an archer appears on you. As a bonus action while in the Starry Form, you can cast Luminous Arrow. Luminous Arrow is a level 1 evocation spell. It allows a Circle of the Stars Druid using Archer Starry Form to deal radiant damage to a target at a distance. It basically shoots a radiant damage, dealing bonus damage. There's also Starry Form Chalice. A constellation of a life-giving chalice appears on you. Whenever you cast a healing spell that consumes a spell slot, you can cast Chalice Healing, which you can use on yourself or another creature. And then finally, there is Starry Form Dragon. A constellation of a wise dragon appears on you. When you make a saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell, a roll result of 9 or lower is considered a 10. Very cool. And then as a bonus action, while in this Starry Form, you can cast Dazzling Breath. So Dazzling Breath allows you to deal radiant damage in a cone in front of you. And it says spew forth a dazzling cone of stars. And it does 2d6 damage plus your wisdom modifier in radiant damage. So very cool. If you want to have concentration, if you don't want to lose concentration of a spell, sounds like Starry Form Dragon is the way to go. You also gain 2 star maps. These are used to cast certain spells without using a spell slot. You get 2 of them per long rest, and you can only regenerate them by long resting. Circle of the Stars spells are always prepared. The 2 that you receive are Guiding Bolt and Star Map Guiding Bolt. The Guiding Bolt will cost a spell slot, but Star Map Guiding Bolt will will not. You can use that twice per long rest for free. And then at level 6, you gain Cosmic Omen. Whenever you long rest, you consult the stars for a Cosmic Omen of weal or of woe. Is weal an actual word, or is that a typo? That's real. The Omen grants you the ability to increase or decrease attack rolls and saving throws, and to increase your allies' ability checks. Very interesting. Cosmic Omen. I wonder if this is a long until long rest. Very interesting. And you can get 3 Cosmic Omens replenished by long rest, and that is the resource used for your omens. Seems pretty good though. And then finally at level 10, you get Twinkling Constellations. Your starry forms are improved, the archer's damage and the chalice's healing are increased by 1d8, and the dragon gains the ability to hover and to fly at a movement speed of 20 feet. Very cool. I mean, this is probably going to look incredible. I can't wait to see the Circle of the Stars Druid. I think it's going to be one of the most powerful subclasses. You know, Druid typically has not had a ton of, builds that are high caliber or, maybe like honor mode ready. Circle of the Stars Druid, I'm excited about. I think it's going to be the most powerful Druid subclass, but we're going to have to see when patch 8 releases. And next up is the Path of the Giant Barbarian. You walk the Path of the Giants, invoking their elemental might and size by drawing strength from the same primal forces as them. At level 1, you acquire the following. You get Giant's Rage. Enter a rage and increase in size. Your rage damage bonus is doubled on throw attacks. Oh my goodness, thrower. Gain resistance to physical damage and advantage on strength checks and saving throws. Very, very cool. Very, very nice. You also get Thaumaturgy, which is a cantrip. It temporarily improves the caster's intimidation and performance checks by giving them advantage on them. Very, very nice indeed. You also get Vaprax's Greed. Your carrying capacity is increased by a quarter. That is awesome. What can you say? I love picking up stuff. I absolutely love Vaprax's Greed. At level 5, you unlock Boot of the Giants. This is costs a bonus action. Try to kick a target away. Your chances depend on your athletics and are higher if you're hidden or invisible. Seems very nice if you're a thrower to kind of kick people away from you. So it seems like Path of the Giant Barbarian is kind of a thrower type subclass. And then at level 6, you get the Elemental Cleaver. Channel Primordial Might into your weapon until the end of your rage. Your weapon will deal an additional acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage and gain the Thrown property. If thrown, it will immediately reappear in your hand. That is incredible. So Elemental Cleaver, very much, it looks like Path of the Giant is meant to be a thrower type build, which is super, super cool. I love thrower. Mighty Impel, throw a creature or object that is medium sized or smaller. You get that at level 10 and for the cost of a bonus action. So, that's one thing. My biggest regret is I don't throw other NPCs more. I throw weapons, but I've never really thrown an NPC. So Mighty Impel, it's pretty crazy. You can throw a medium-sized or smaller creature for a bonus action. Very, very nice. And that's what we know so far about the Path of the Giant Thrower Barbarian. Definitely a throwing type subclass from what I can tell. And next up is the College of Glamour Bard. You mastered your craft under the tutelage of fey creatures whose captivating magic swirls within you, ready to be released. You acquire the following at level 1. Mantle of Inspiration. Imbue 2 allies with your vigor and grant them 5 temporary hit points. If they're hit with a melee attack, the attacker becomes charmed. That is awesome. Incredible. You can basically protect any of your allies you don't want to be getting attacked, because once the target is charmed after attacking, they won't attack your player, your teammate further. So Mantle of Inspiration is really nice to help kind of protect your team. It does cost a bonus action and 1 Bardic Inspiration charge. And at level 6, the Bard acquires Mantle of Majesty Command. Command a creature to flee, move closer, freeze, drop to the ground, or drop its weapon. Sounds a lot like Command. Well, of course, Mantle of Majesty Command. Targets that are charmed automatically fail their saving throw. So perfect synergy with Mantle of Inspiration. If an attacker becomes charmed, you can then guarantee you're able to use Command on them. And then also at level 5, the College of Glamour Bard gets improved Bardic Inspiration. The bonus gain from Bardic Inspiration increases to plus 1d8. So previously Bardic Inspiration, I think, gives 1d6. Yes, plus 1d6. Improved Bardic Inspiration at level 5 will change it to 1d8. By the way, you can actually get a plus 1d10 Bardic Inspiration if you talk to Alfira, if she survived, at the end of Act 2. Just got to make sure to play a song with her. So that is the College of Glamour Bard as we know so far. Some cool crowd control-esque type spells. Very much looking forward to giving that a try.